we're going to discuss how to output data on screen. In MATLAB, there are two functions that can do the job. The first function is called DISP, display. And here is how it works. So first, let's create a vector x, which includes 10 values, 1 to 10. And just look at the command I just entered. I leave out the semicolon. So because of this, the result is echoed on the screen. And let's see how the disp function works. DISP x. It actually worked the same way as the statement without the semicolon. So therefore, the disp function is not very useful, and I kind of recommend it not to use it in your program. So what will be the best function used to output data? Well, it is a function called frpintf. Let's look at its information. So I will use help frprintf. Now, let's move up to the top. So here it says frprintf writes formatted data to a text file. Well, this is a format. However, we're not going to use this format. Let's skip to the next line. And this is the format we're going to use. So it says frprintf for format common A, blah, 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 formats data and displays the results on the screen. All right, let's do the explanation here. So the format is so-called a format string. So it is a string with some special conversion specifications so that the values will be put in those locations. And A, comma, and so on and so forth, there's a list of the variables whose values are going to be output. And so looking inside the format string, there are a couple of conversion specifications that you can use. So the conversion specifications always start with the percentage character and then followed by a conversion character. For example, if you say percentage %d, which means you're going to output in the form of an integer. If it's say percentage %f, you're going to output it as a form of floating points. And as for the definitions of those characters, you can find it in the textbook. And probably, let's see, I think you can always click here to get more information about frprintf. Hopefully, yeah, so this is formatting operators. So those are the definitions of all those formatting operators. So, but here we're going to just use D and F. I'll give you a brief demo of how to use it. Now, let's say the first example is that I'm going to output pi. And if I just use disp pi, you'll see it's just a number. However, what if we want to add some comments in the output? Now you need to use frprintf. So this is how it works. So frprintf. And the first will be the format string. So the format string looks like a text. So let's say pi is, and here you're going to actually enter the real value of pi. So in this case, you will put a conversion factor or character, so percentage %f, because it's a floating point. And I will add it. And then I will put a pi value. So what it does, that it will output a string called pi is, and when it sees a percentage %f, it will not output percentage %f. It will use a value of pi and output in the format of a floating point. So let's see how it works. Here you go. And when you look at it, you will see something special here. So look at the prompt, like the two greater than signs. It's actually right behind this string. Okay, we'll talk about shortly. But when you look at the output string, so you will exactly the pi is, which is this portion, and this %f is actually replaced by the value of pi. And when you look at here, it's 3.141593. Well, what happened to here? Why the prompt is right behind this the string? Well, this is because when you use the format string here, you just output everything in one line, and you don't specify what's after that is starts in a new line. So how to correct that? Well, there will be a special character that you can use. So let's go back to the help information right above. So here are so-called escape characters. So look at this escape character. It's called a /n. So when MATLAB saw /m, it will interpret it as to start as a new line. And what about this guy? It's called /t. So when MATLAB sees this, it will consider a horizontal tab. So I think you guys already know what the tab is. So when you, in the Word, when you hit the tab, usually it will move horizontally to the next position so that you can line up the text. So in today's demo, we'll use both. So let's go back to the bottom. I'm going to retype the command. So in this case, I just use the command history. So over here, I'm going to make it as a full sentence, so I put a period here and then add /n. So in this case, when it outputs the string, it will output the entire sentence, and what comes after will start it in a new line. So let's see. Well, you see, so this is the output. Pi is 3.141593, period, and the prompt will start in new line. Next, what I'm going to show you is that you can specify the format, how this floating data point value is displayed. And you can specify the width and also specify how many decimals of how many digits after the decimal is displayed. And this is how. So I will use a command again, but before I write the the conversion factor character, and I will specify the width and the number of digits after the decimal. So this is how it works. So if I use 5.3, what does that mean? It means that the output will take up 5 character spaces, and also among which 3 of them will be used for the digits after the decimal. And so let's take a look. All right, so in this case, you will see the value actually takes 5 spaces. The decimal takes 1 space. And after this decimal, there will be 3 digits. So this is how it's defined. Now let's look at another example. So what if I'm going to say it is 7, and I will say it is 5. So this is how it works. So it will take 7 spaces for the value, and of which 5 of them will be for the digits after the decimal. Okay? All right, so what about the, let's say 6? Well, this is something very special because you specified that you need 6 digits after the decimal, so we have 6 digits here after decimal. And however, if you include the decimal and the integer portion of the value, actually the space is exceeds the 7 space you specify. So if this space you specify does not hold the value, MATLAB will expand it to hold the value. So this is how you use the MATLAB fprint function to output the data. Next, what I'm going to show you is how to use frprintf to output a vector, so multiple values. So we already have a vector here, which is x, it has 10 values. So let's see how it works. So if I do fprintf, and I will say x equals, because in this case you can consider the x values are integers, so you can use the conversion character %d, and then you do x. Okay, so this is what will happen, because when you do this, and it will repeat this section 10 times because you have 10 values, and since you have nothing after the %d, so all the output will be lined up in one row. If it's exceed the limit of one row, it will go to the next row or next line. So let's see how it works. All right, so this is what happens. So the x equals 1, x equals 2, all the way to the end, and you see the prompt is at the end of this output. This doesn't look nice. Now, let's try to make it line up in like in 10 lines. So this is what you're going to do. So instead of doing that, you added /n. So every time it outputted, then it will use, every time it outputs one value, it will use one line. And make sure, because one thing that I skipped is that because the conversion character is only one place for one value, and you have 10 values in x, so it just will do this repeatedly 10 times to output all the values. So let's see how it goes. And see, it looks like 10 lines, right? So what about if you try to give like 2 spots over here? So one is x equals %d, and you want to separate the second output. So you will see percentage. No, this you will add a /t, which is a tab, and then you will see x equals %d. So in this case, what happens is that it will take the first value of x to fill up this space, and the second value of x to fill up this space. If there are more values left in the x, it will just go to the next line. So let's see how it works. You see, it will say x equals 1, x equals 2, and then move to the next line, x equals 3, x equals 4, and so on and so forth. And now, let's say you want to put 3 values in one row. And this is what's happening, because 10 is not multiples of 3. So up to the 4th line, then it only has one value left. So it just will ignore the rest of the format string. So this is what's happening. You see, and at this point, it's running out of values, so it just stopped. But as you see, and it will look like a weird condition because it stopped right here, because there's no value to fill it up this placeholder. So that's how it happens. And you will now see a new line over there in the output. All right, now what happens, we have like we have 2 vectors. So I have a second vector is from 11 to 20, okay? And if I'm going to output like this, I'm still using the x, right? But in addition to the output as x value and y value, I add a y value. Now, this is what's happening. The frprintf will first output the vector x using this format string, and when it's done, it will move to y, right? And you see this is x equals 1 all the way to the 10. That's from the vector x, and the rest is actually from vector y. So this is just a brief description of how to use frprintf. And we're going to use this very frequently in our scripts. And by that time, we'll show you more method to use this function so that you can format the output in a way that you like.